Hey everybody, just going to let a few people log in here. I have a feeling we're not going to get lots of people on a Friday before most people break for the holiday season. And when we planned this, we didn't think this was a bad date, not realizing that next week was Christmas. Or maybe we did, I can't remember. So I'm just looking at the attendees. All right, we're going to give everyone a minute or so and then we'll get started. I'll be right back. All right, welcome everyone. I'm going to get started because the first part of this session is a recap of the last 2 days. And I know some of you who have been very attentive are going to go, not again, but let me go through that. And then as people log in, we'll get caught up. So welcome to day 3. This is the day that we take a live opportunity accelerator. I go through it and I share with you how to win a sales opportunity. Okay, how to increase the probability of winning. So that's what we're doing today. But before we jump into that, let me recap day 1 and day 2. So, as a reminder, this is a program. This is there's two components to it. There's the way you're thinking and what you're doing. So on day 1, we talked about the way you're thinking. And on day 2, we talked a little bit more about what you're doing. And we introduced the accelerator, our opportunity accelerator, to basically collapse time and help you to accelerate your ability to win more deals. So we said this stat is terrible. 53% of all opportunities are lost. We talked about how when someone's trying to improve sales, whether you're an entrepreneur or a seller working for a company, you focus on sales skills, sales tools, sales process, pretty common stuff. Many people don't focus on their mindset though. And if you focus on your mindset, that's where you can get a rapid shift. And we talked about these 4 areas. We said all of us have goals, whether they're written and identified exactly what they are. We have something we're trying to achieve. If you're working for a company as a salesperson, you're told what to achieve. They say, here's your quota. And you go, oh, God, I don't think I can hit it. That's your first thought, probably. And as soon as you do that, you're doomed. So that picture there is showing that goal that you've been given. If you're an entrepreneur, you've probably set your own goal. Say, I'm going to make $3 million in revenue this year, or maybe more. Who knows? And so you set that goal, and then your thoughts cause you to go down different squirrely paths. And so when your thoughts don't reflect what you're trying to achieve, they are moving you in the opposite direction. You start to worry. And when you start to worry, you get even more thoughts that turn your worrying into fear. You start to fear not achieving what it is you're trying to achieve. And the different identities that we have, each one of us has a specific identity we carry with us. And I shared what mine was when I first started in sales. I was a service technician, went into sales, and I kept saying, I'm not a salesperson, or I don't want to be seen as someone who's selling. I used to, feel like the salespeople were too aggressive. So anyway, these fears and these thoughts trigger those identities, and our subconscious takes over, and it basically programs your success. It causes your either lack of success if you're thinking this way. But if you can turn that around and control those thoughts, you start to go the other way. Now, if you don't control your thoughts, you end up going down this death spiral. And we used to actually talk about this. This is when I first started in sales. I remember one quick story. I was traveling. We used to do a lot of traveling together as pairs and cold call together back in the day. And so we would do half a day in one person's territory and the second half of the day in the other person's. And so we did my half in the morning, and then the lady I was with, we were supposed to do the afternoon. And she goes, I don't feel like it. Let's just go to the mall. So we went to the mall and we went to that Colonel's popcorn place and we got popcorn and all that kind of stuff. And I said to her, I said, we're never going to achieve what we need to achieve if we keep doing this, going to the mall and having popcorn. And she says, I just can't get into it. She wasn't being successful. Ultimately, she didn't succeed. She left sales. And I never did that mall thing again. And I went back and I just did my thing and I executed and I did well. So I'm giving you that brief story because she was in the death spiral. She was avoiding the things she needed to do to be successful. And what caused that is because when she was hired on day one, she didn't come in and say, okay, I'm going to go to the mall and eat popcorn. That was a result of thoughts turn into lack of results, results turn into worry, worry turn into fear. Off you go. Let's go to the mall. I'm not up to going and cold calling today. Anyway, for some of you that may resonate, for some of you it may not, but that's what happened. Now, focusing on your mindset, focusing on your thoughts you're having, and being able to control your thoughts will shift your results faster than anything else. And the reason why is you can change it immediately. You don't have to wait. There's nothing to wait. There's no training to do. There's no tools to set up. There's no new process to kind of learn and try to implement. Like literally, if you do this properly, you could change tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's Saturday. So let's say Monday morning, you could go after that deal with a different way of thinking and actually win it. All right. Now, if you apply these principles, you will see your full potential realized. And there's countless examples of this. If you like, go and Google Steve Harvey. So Steve Harvey is I think everyone knows who Steve Harvey is, but in case you don't, Steve Harvey is the host of the Family Feud game show and many, 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 many other TV things. And what he has started to do is he started to tell his story of how did he go from being this little shy, quiet little boy that used to stutter in class, and his teacher would make fun of him literally. There's a video I saw the other day where his teacher said he would never amount to anything. They did an exercise in school where each one of the students were asked to write on a piece of paper what they wanted to be when they grew up. And all he wrote on his paper was, I want to be on TV. I want to be on TV. All the other kids put, I want to be a professional basketball player. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer, those types of things. And the story Steve tells is the teacher brought him up to the front of the class, and he thought he was going to get rewarded because his thing he put on his paper was so unique and so awesome. And she cut him up for it. And she teased him almost because he was stuttering, like he couldn't speak clearly. And she said things to him like, "You're never going to be on TV. Who would ever put you on TV? You can't even talk." Unbelievable. If you ever see that clip on it's on YouTube, Steve Harvey talks about that. Anyway, what I'm trying to say by sharing that story to you is Steve Harvey came from a very difficult beginning, and he was homeless and he had lack of support, right? And what he did is he believed. He knew that if he thought the right things, he would achieve success no matter what he was seeing around him. And so Google Steve Harvey. He at the beginning of a lot of his shows or after the show, the stuff you don't see on TV, he addresses the audience almost every time. And he shares some of the stories of how he was able to control what he was thinking and attract into his life what he wanted. Steve Harvey is there. There's a famous example of the comedian Jim Carrey. So Jim Carrey wrote the $10 million check to himself and posted it on like a vision board, and he even carried it with him, I think. And so I'm not the only one out here talking about this. Someone yesterday on the call talked about Bob Proctor. I think one of the people on the call today is a trained Bob Proctor graduate, and I love Bob Proctor. He's Canadian, and he's passed away now, but he took a lot of these principles that were taught by people back in the 1920s, and they would write books. But the way they wrote the books, it was so hard to understand. It was almost like trying to read Shakespeare. If you've ever tried to read Shakespeare in Old English, it can be so hard. So anyway, Bob took a lot of these concepts, applied them himself, perfected them, and he came out with different programs and books. And if you get a chance to buy some of Bob's books and even his programs, phenomenal stuff. And I'm teaching the same thing. I'm teaching specifically how do you apply that as a seller, as a person responsible for selling, and that's my niche or my niche, if you will. So if you focus on your mindset, you can have the results you're looking for. That was day one. Okay. Day two, oh, sorry, the end of day one, we gave you an assignment and a couple of you sent it in. I went through one and that was showing you how you can apply these things in your day-to-day life. Now, going back to this picture shows that many people focus on sales skills, sales tools, and sales process. And this concept of compressing time. So, who has time to go and learn a new sales skill, right? Go take a sales training program, go buy and invest in new sales tools, go and learn a new sales process, implement it, learn it, practice it, get better at it. So that takes a lot of time and a lot of trial and error and a lot of doing it well and not doing it well to arrive at being better at sales, right? Seeing a noticeable increase in your win ratios and hitting your quotas. So what I've done is I've spent 27 years on all those things: sales skills, sales tools, sales process, thousands and thousands of hours on those things. And they say the definition of an expert is someone that has spent 10,000 hours on something. If I did the math, it's probably 60,000 hours. It might even be more than that. So I don't know what that makes me. I don't know what's after an expert. Maybe the word guru, I think, is overused. Maybe I'm a guru. Anyway, so you don't need to do that. If you use mindset and you use the opportunity accelerator, and I even create custom accelerators for specific industries. So if you want to know more about that, let me know. But when you do those two things, focus on those three things, collapse time. So if you learn to use the opportunity accelerator, you can literally be closing deals faster the week after Christmas, right? If you work on your mindset and use some of the techniques that we teach, the results of that, you can see the results immediately. And I'll share an example of one of our students that actually had that happen. Okay, yesterday we also talked about the Opportunity Accelerator. We sent out a more simple version of it because to use the Opportunity Accelerator in its full capacity, you need some instruction and you need some guidance. But once you have that, it's easy. So we sent out a document that looked like this. And this document was the many of the key questions in the Opportunity Accelerator. So I'm going to go through that. Now, none of the attendees has sent me their filled in Genie, or sorry, filled in accelerator this time. Let me look, let me look, let me look. Okay. So, and Corey says graduate might be a strong word. That is my vision, that you are a graduate and a student of the Bob Proctor program. And so if you are even partway through the course, that'll resonate for you. All right, so what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to go through the assessment, and a couple of you actually booked time with me later next week, which is awesome. So you're probably waiting to show it to me then, which is totally fine, right? We get a chance to go through some of it then. But I'm going to abandon this deck and pull up the document, and I'm going to take you through it because I'm telling you, this is such a powerful tool. I really want you to understand how this works. You could almost say this is my life work as a seller. Actually, you can't almost, you can say that. When I used to sit on deals as a sales manager, honestly, one of the things they're responsible for is making sure that one of their salespeople that works for them, when they need help to win business, to get business, that type of thing, you're able to help them. And so I had to get good at that so we could be successful. And with some of the training I got from Xerox and the experience there, that was the foundation. But then I perfected it over the last 10 years. So let me go into this. So at the beginning, Erica, can you tell me if you can see that page? Okay,
It's a little small, but yeah, I can see it
I can make it bigger. How's that?
better.
Oh, I gotta make it bigger this way. All right. Okay, so the first page is just some tombstone information, so the name of the company and all that kind of stuff. So we'll skip over that. The very first question, business problem. So I know that you're going to say, Rob, I've been in sales a while. Asking me what the business problem is that the customer has, that's pretty basic stuff. Guess what? I've been a sales manager, sales VP, sales leader for a really, really long time. And I got to tell you, probably 80% of the time when I was analyzing our pipeline and which deals the seller said was going to close, I would ask the question, what business problem are they trying to solve? And guess what I would hear? I'm not sure. Think about that. They're forecasting this deal to close and they don't know what the business problem is. Why that happens is salespeople will tend to go out, they'll do their presentation, they'll put the opportunity in the pipeline, they'll make a lot of assumptions because they don't ask the right questions, and then the deal gets lost. That's why there's 53% of the deals in our pipelines don't close. So we need to feel comfortable to ask the right questions. The Opportunity Accelerator is a litany. There's actually 300 questions in total. So it starts with 50 core, and there's 300 in total that can be asked. And so a lot of salespeople don't feel comfortable asking the questions. There's an identity getting in the way. There's a thought or belief getting in the way. And if you don't ask the questions, you're guessing. So I would always ask, not always, I would ask these questions, and most often, 90% of the time or more, they would not know the answer. So the first one is business problem impact. Okay, so this is this category. So the first one is what business problem are they trying to solve? This is really important for you to know. And it's not just important for you to know, it's important for you to get very curious with your customer of what we talk about pain points a lot. So what problem is your customer trying to solve? Spend time there. Spend time asking them. Spend time assessing the problem that they said they have. So spend time there and really thoroughly understand that. Once you know what the problem is, in this version of the Opportunity Accelerator, you would write it in there. B, how is this problem showing up in their world today? So they're saying they're having a problem, a business issue, and they're thinking about buying the product or service that you sell. That's why you're talking to them. So what problem is that causing? How is it showing up in their business? Is it costing them revenue? Is it costing them reputation in the industry? Are they missing out on a market opportunity? Like what problem is it causing? I know there's a couple of financial planners on the call today. And so your potential customer, what problem do they have that you can solve? And most Canadians and Americans, most North Americans, um, don't have a solid financial plan. They just go through life hoping things are going to be great. So what problem can that cause for them? Do they even know what their problem is? Now I'm going off script. I'm asking different questions. What problem might they have that they don't even know? So if you can do that, now you're becoming a thought leader. Now you're creating an opportunity where someone has a problem, they don't even know it. So they're unconsciously incompetent. That means they don't know they don't know. And if you can turn them into consciously competent, then that's the objective. All right, C, if they do nothing, what happens to the results in the next 6 to 12 months? So if the customer has a defined problem and they don't do anything, what could happen? And if you know these pieces of information, this is how you can win deals. This is how you can close deals faster. There's an old adage in sales that people and companies will move away from pain faster than they move towards pleasure. So a company will pay money and move quickly to extinguish pain that's meaningful faster than they will to go after an opportunity. For example, in your own home life, if you want to buy a new TV to watch the Super Bowl, that's a pleasure thing, right? If your furnace dies in the middle of winter, that's a pain thing. Which one would you spend money on? And how fast would you move to fix your furnace versus buying the TV for football? Some of you might say, no, I'm buying the TV for football. But that's not the point of my question. Okay, number three, why now and why you? So, why is this opportunity active right now? Why are they doing this now? Why didn't they do this before? What is it about now that is making them move? So the reason why you ask that question is you're trying to understand sort of the criteria they're using for moving forward with something in a timeline that you can understand and work with. And why you? So, why did they bring you in? What was it about you that made them say yes to the meeting? That is such an important question to know. If someone has accepted a meeting with you, there's something about what you offer, there's something about what you're doing that has got them very interested in you. You want to know what that is. Why are they talking to you and your company specifically? So again, it's an extension of the why you piece, but get into the details of what is it about the company you work for or your company you own? Why have they accepted the meeting with you? Where do you believe they see the most value in your solution? So you need to ask them that. Don't guess. Most sellers will guess. Where do they see the most value? If you're a financial planner, is it your ability to predict how stocks are going to perform? Is it your ability to give them strategic advice on creating a plan versus the actual products and services they're buying? So just really try to find out where they see the most value because where they see value is the most important thing. And I know that sounds so redundant, and but it's the application of these basic things that make all the difference in the world. Okay, next question number four. This section is called Buying Team and Power Map. So, who was involved in this decision? List their names and roles. So, when you're meeting with a company, so if you're in B2B sales, typically it's not one person making the decision to buy something. You may be dealing with one person, but there's other people that are going to have influence on the decision. And a lot of times, the person you're presenting to isn't even the decision maker. They're the ones influencing the decision. They need to go to their boss more than likely and say, here's the three options. This is the one I think. What do you think? And then the decision maker makes the decision. So you need to know who they are. And if you can, you want to meet with the actual decision maker. I had a call from someone I worked with this morning, and he thought he got a verbal on a deal. The customer said, "Yeah, we're going to do this," and then he heard today that they've decided not to do it. And the person he was dealing with isn't the decision maker, and the person he was dealing with basically sent an email and said the executive team have decided not to do it. That's all he said. So now we got to go back and see what's happened there. But if you're working with the decision makers, if you're communicating with them, you're not playing the telephone game. You know that what that is? So the telephone game is when you tell one person something and they tell the next and they tell the next. By the time you get to that third person, what you said is different. And as kids, you play the telephone game. So you don't want to play the telephone game when you're selling. You want to deal with the decision maker if you can, or at least get the opportunity to present to them. Okay. Who signs the contract? So that's the decision maker. We talked about that. Who quietly has the most influence, even if they are not officially the decision maker? There's a lot of times that there'll be someone in the buying committee that may not be the decision maker, but the decision maker will go based on what they say. So basically, if you're selling financial services, more than likely, you can't just present to the husband, you need to present to the wife too. Because in many cases, if the wife doesn't say yes, there's no yes. So that's a funny example of that. But that's what I'm talking about. So you need to know who is the unofficial influencer of the deal and make sure that they are saying yes to your solution. I'm going through these pretty quickly. I wouldn't go as quickly as this, but just for the interest of time, I'm going quickly. Where are your relationships strongest and weakest? So this is where you really want to understand how you're positioned. So maybe you've sold them something in the past. Maybe your competitor have sold them something in the past. So do you have a strong relationship with the right people, with the decision makers? And just because you have the relationship, do you believe that it's strong enough that you can win the deal because of it? Or if not, is it weak? So doing that assessment is important. Next one, current stage and commitment. So what stage would you say the deal is at today? So this exercise was designed for me during this live thing to find out where you are on an opportunity. And so for those of you who are going to book your one-on-one with me, do that, fill this in, and that's an important question. I want to understand where you believe you are. And what I typically find here is most sellers are too optimistic. They're being very, very optimistic in what they think is happening, which isn't a bad thing. Optimism is wonderful, but it's important to know where you're at, where you're at. What was the last meaningful interaction you had with the customer? So that's important because, and again, I'm doing this to see where you're at on a specific opportunity, and that gives me some insight there. The next one, what concrete commitments did they make to you? Dates, actions, information, internal meetings. So this is important because if they're not committing to you with little yeses, we used to use this acronym ABC, always be closing. So we used to teach salespeople that at the end of each meeting with a customer, you always close on the next meeting at least, or the next step in the process, so that you're linking the activity to the next activity. If you don't do that, it kind of breaks the chain and then it causes a potential delay and for them to drift away, right? So if you're in the ocean, you want to keep all your boats linked together. You don't want them drifting away. So when you're doing this, always be closing. Get the next thing. So I'm testing there to see, are you getting that kind of commitment from them? Or are they saying, well, I'll call you. I'll call you next week. If they're saying things like that, the odds are you're not in good shape. All right, next one, number six. Hang on. Yeah, okay, number six, risk and reality check. What are the top three reasons you could lose this deal, including stay with the status quo? So they could decide to do nothing, and that is a competitor most people overlook. And it's one that happens more often than you think. They actually don't make a decision. They just stay with what they're doing. So, where are you with that? What are the top reasons you could lose the deal? Next one, who or what is your biggest competitor on this deal? So a lot of sellers, I would ask that question, who are we competing against? And they'd say, I'm not sure. And when I would ask why, they'd say, I didn't feel comfortable asking that question. Or if the salesperson wasn't willing to say that to me, I could tell that's what it was. And so this goes back to the mindset work and why the mindset work combined with this type of thing is so important. If you're going in with a clear, confident mindset, you won't be afraid to ask these questions. And in fact, one of the things I teach is when you're with your client, tell them for you to diagnose their problem and help them the most, you need to ask a series of questions. And you can say something like, are you okay if I ask you? I've got about 10 questions I need to ask you. Is that okay if I do that now? And as soon as you get permission, two things happen. Number one, they open up and they know that these questions are going to come and they get prepared mentally and psychologically. But so do you. Like you almost feel like, oh, that's such a relief. Here I go. Who is the competitor? You wouldn't say that. You would say, what other vendors are you looking to compare to or something like that? And then that's important to know. Okay, next question. Where are you guessing instead of knowing? So again, a lot of salespeople guess because they're uncomfortable asking the questions. And if you use that little framework I just gave you, you won't be guessing anymore. The next section is called strategy and next move. So what is your current strategy to win this deal? So over the last 5 years, I did a lot of work developing what we would call win themes. So these are the things that we're going to make sure are in our executive summaries. They're in all of our presentations. These are the core attributes of how we're going to win the deal. I'll give you a little quick example. We were doing a deal in Canada, and the organization we were dealing with was a part of it was kind of not government, but kind of government. So what was important to them, and this was informal, it wasn't stated anywhere, but it was important for them to hire a Canadian company with Canadian resources paying Canadian taxes. So, and the same in the US, right? So when you're doing deals in the US, same thing in most cases. So if that's really important to them, or you think it is, or you can uncover that, part of our win theme was to make sure we advertised that. So we'd put the Canadian flag on all of our slides, and we actually talked about how all the resources would be Canadian resources and all that stuff. So that was one tiny example of a win theme. Win themes are very important. Next question, what is the single most important next step you're planning to take? So again, if we were doing this live, that's an important question. I would want to know what you're doing next because I'd want to assess whether or not I felt it was the right thing to do based on everything that you've said. Next thing, what will you say or do in the next step to create movement and commitment, not just another nice conversation? So, back to always be closing. You always want the sales cycle to have momentum. Sometimes it goes slow, but you don't want your sales cycle to just stall and stop. If that's happened, there's something going on that's not right. And you should feel comfortable to ask the question to your customer about that. And we're almost done. So the last section is around mindset and how you're feeling, how you're thinking, what you're thinking, that type of thing. So the first one is on the scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you will close the opportunity? So that's a big question. And I'm looking there to see if you're overconfident, less than confident, or where you're at. Then the next question is why? Why do you feel that way? And when I ask that question, what happens sometimes is people go back and say, well, I said I was a 9, maybe I'm a 6. And so really understand why you feel like you're going to win or why you're going to lose. What doubts, fears, or second guessing come up when you think about this deal? So this is triggering on what thoughts are you having, what subconscious fears and things like that are coming up. And you may not even think, even right now, you may think that's crazy. But I'm telling you, the next sales cycle you go through, just watch your thoughts, observe your thoughts, and I'll guarantee, or write them down so no one can see them. Write them down. I'm gonna guarantee you, you're gonna have these thoughts. We all do, and so document them. And once you're aware of them, then you'll know you have something to do. And the last one is where do you feel yourself holding back or even overcompensating in this opportunity? So a lot of salespeople overcompensate, and that's where you get a lot of that real aggressive pushing stuff going on. And it doesn't work, right? It used to be more effective, but it just doesn't work as well as it used to. And no one wants to be pushed anyway, right? And so if you can not do that and you still want to be assertive, right? Next step, clear, open, authentic communication and questions, next step. And then if things stall, something's wrong, you feel confident enough to ask the questions. Understood. So this guy today, he called me and he got that email saying that the deal that he thought he was going to have, he's not going to have. And I said, why don't you call the CFO who you have a relationship with, get him on the phone, or go see them in person and say, look, I want you to be honest with me. Um, I'm giving you permission to be honest with me. Something's not right. I had a verbal saying yes, and now you're saying executive team says no. So what's happening? And so if you can just open up the communication between you and your potential customer, that's when selling gets easy. Okay. So that's really it. That's the exercise. And again, this is a fraction of what's in the opportunity accelerator. And you wouldn't go through all of the questions all of the time. But what you would do is you would pick the ones that make the most sense and you would rapidly collapse time when it comes to sales skills and sales process mainly if you start using a tool such as this. Okay, so I'm going to get back to the presentation. We're almost got about 10 more minutes left, I think, for those of you that are on. Okay, so what I want to talk about now is that so that was the opportunity accelerator. Those are the 2 days, the third day, and I want to talk about where do you go from here? So obviously, I said at the beginning of this presentation on day one and today, the programs that I have to offer, I'm going to talk about that right now. So it's really called, my sales program is called Calm, CALM, and my sales community is called Thrive. And I'm going to explain what that is. So I want you to imagine what it would be like waking up, not feeling anxious, not feeling like you didn't know what to do. That's what I try to provide to my customers, is that feeling that you feel that way. And it's such a good feeling to feel like you're in control. And I know because of the people that I work with, quite often people end up in sales and they haven't had any really formal sales training. And they always have this constant wondering, do I need to take a sales training program? Is there a sales book I should read? And maybe they do some of that and it doesn't work. I try to work with you to identify what really needs to happen for you to not feel that way anymore. So the Calm Sales Program, I'll get into the details of what it is, but it's basically a self-paced training program. So you log in, you watch some videos, you do the exercises in the workbook. It's an 8-week program, and I ask you to twice. So it's a total of 16 weeks. And then the second part is what I call the Thrive community. So every week you join a group coaching call with me and all the other Thrivers, we call them, and we all help each other. So what's happening is you're not just learning something, right? You're applying what you're learning in your job now. And so over the weeks, the 16 weeks, you see yourself shift and change because you're applying what you're learning. You're not just learning it and going away. And quite often we learn things, we'll read a book, we'll take a course. When the book is done, the course is done, you go, wow, that was amazing. That was such a good course, good program. I love it. Then you go back to work. And then each week that goes by, you forget and you go back to your old ways of doing things. So we've designed the program over 16 weeks so that every week we encourage and help you implement what you're learning so you see progress. Okay. So the CALM program is 8 weeks. It's 2 hours per week, roughly. So you watch a video that's less than an hour and you do some exercises in a workbook. And then you come to the Thrive call. That's an hour-long call once a week. When you complete the 16 weeks, you can actually, we'll give you a badge for LinkedIn. So you actually get to put this on LinkedIn if you choose to, so that you've got a professional sales designation in LinkedIn. And here's some quick quotes from some of the people that have gone through the program this last cycle. So Adrian had, we talk about money. It's called money weakness. We talked about this on day one. So how we feel about money as humans is very important. And as a seller and an entrepreneur, it's critical that we get at the heart of that. So in the first week, we cover this money weakness topic. And Adrian had to go talk to a CEO of a customer of his he was trying to sell to. And he had the habit of just lowering his price to try to get business. So this time he didn't do that. He focused on the value, the value, the value, the value. And then the customer didn't even bring up the price and just said yes. And so he did that in the first week after doing that course. So that was awesome. Eric here, I'll let you guys read that. So Eric and I have worked together for quite a while, and he was my personal trainer at a gym. I met him at a gym, and then I was a sales manager at a software company, and I needed someone to come in and sub in for a vacation. Eric knew nothing about our industry, but we reconnected. He came in, and that 2 weeks turned into years, and now he's one of the top sellers in the industry that he's in. So very proud of Eric. Ronald is a CRO, Chief Revenue Officer of a company. He used the opportunity accelerator to cleanse his pipeline. I think I told that story yesterday, and his team is on a totally different trajectory because of it now. Pranav and I worked together before. I was his manager, actually. He came and worked for the company I worked for so he could have me as his manager. But I was so busy doing everything else a manager does, I didn't get the chance to do as much coaching as I wanted to in that role. So when I left and put this program together, he couldn't wait to take it because now he got the real essence of me. So that was pretty good. I'm going through these things quickly, and and that's me. So here's your option. If you actually, I had another slide. Where did it go? Okay, my special offer. Here's my special offer. So if you do join the Calm program, it's the Calm Thrive bundle. It's 16 weeks. You can start anytime. If you do join by the 31st of this month, December, before the end of the year, I'm going to give you 2 1-hour coaching sessions with me. You can schedule them at any time next year. And that's a $600 value US. Okay. So I'm giving you that for free. And all you have to do is sign up for the program. So for those of you who want to do that, reach out to us and we will gladly sign you up for the program and get you started. For those of you who aren't sure yet and you want to talk to me maybe one more time before you decide, book this call. Erica, can you put, I think you did it yesterday. If you still have that link, can you put it there? A couple of you are already signed up for your free half-hour call with me. I'm gifting you a half-hour call with me to just talk about what you're doing, what kind of sales you're in, and whether or not the program is a good fit for you. So if you already know it's a good fit, wonderful. Come on over and sign up and let's start. If you're not sure, or you just want to talk to me, maybe you're not ready to sign up for a program and put money down and pay, that's okay. So book your half-hour call with me and let's talk about what you're doing. And if paying for a course maybe isn't in the cards for you right now, then we can talk about maybe other ways of getting you some help. Okay, so that's really it. Unless there's any questions for those of you who are still here the Friday before the Christmas break or the holiday break, I want to thank you for coming. There's quite a few of you that have come for the 3 days, and I appreciate the time that you've given me. And what I would like to say is if you don't work with me, that's fine. Please take a look at how mindset and it's actually manifestation is what it is, but that word scares a lot of people. Learning how to control your thoughts in the sales capacity is very important for your success. Extremely important for your success. Spend some time on it. There are other practitioners of this work, right? Bob Proctor was one of the ones we talked about. But if you want my specific help, I've structured it. It's very simple. It's 16 weeks. It'll take you through the program. It'll take you through the selling, and you'll become a better seller. I'm telling you it will. So book your half an hour call with me. And if I'm not resonating with you for whatever reason, go search someone that is, but do this work. Get yourself into this work and you'll see things shift. Okay. Anyway, thanks again. Have a great holiday. And I'll just double check to make sure no one's asking any questions. Erica, did you see any questions?
No, I don't
Just
think
some
so.
comments.
Yeah, nope. No
Oh,
actual questions.
all right. Okay. Thanks, everyone. I really
Oh, we
appreciate you.
have one from
I got a
Corey.
question. Oh, price. Yes. You want to know how much it is? It's so cheap. It's so cheap. It should be $4,400, but it's $3,800. So for $3,800, you get the course, and you get to have that course for as long as I'm in business. So you have it forever. And then you get the Thrive community call. So it's 16 group calls, one a week, and you get a login. So if you can't make the call, you get to watch the recording. And then we have a WhatsApp group that we add you to. So what you get on the WhatsApp group is everyone in the community, my Thrive community, when you're preparing for a sales call or you're trying, maybe some thoughts are coming up that aren't serving you well and you want some help and support, you can go on the chat and either I answer it directly or you'll get one of the other people, the other students answer it. What happens is as you're in the program for a while, and you really start to get good at this stuff and then you start teaching it. And one of the best ways to learn something is to start teaching it. I know that sounds funny. So what happens in the community is on the Thrive calls, and the Thrive calls are every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Okay. They're recorded and you can watch them back. And what happens is everyone comes on those calls. We always have a structure each week. People bring real opportunities to those calls and they get help on those opportunities. And then you get the WhatsApp group as well. Okay, so it's $3,800 one time. The That includes the coaching, it includes the course, it includes the WhatsApp group, and if you do it before the end of the year, it includes two one-on-one calls with me to really get inside of what we need to do specifically for you. Okay? So I hope that helps. And if you want, Erica, why don't you put in the chat here the website for the CALM program? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot, but if you can just,
I just dropped the calm for Christmas. So that's the
did you?
bundle
Oh,
that was
good.
just mentioned. That includes the two
Oh, there
free
it is.
calls for the price of calm regularly until December 31st.
Perfect. All right. And you know what? I'm hoping you're going to book some time with me. The Calendly link's there. If you just want to email me as well, if you don't want to book a call, you just want to email me some questions, it's rob@rtrofficial.com. You can grab me on LinkedIn, right? I'm very open on LinkedIn. Just message me and we can set you up with the right thing. Okay. All right. Any other questions? I don't see anything else. Okay, so I'll leave that there for another little bit. So in case you need to copy links or whatever, it's there. But again, thanks for spending your time with me. I hope this was helpful and just reach out and get the help that you need. Okay. Have a safe and happy holiday season. Thanks, everyone.